Welcome. Today we're looking into something deeply unsettling. It's about the dangers that can hide just beneath the surface of everyday convenience, specifically rideshare apps. We've gathered some truly terrifying accounts, real stories from both drivers and passengers using services like Uber and Uber Eats. These aren't just random incidents. They highlight some fundamental vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it's really about peeling back that layer of digital trust, isn't it? We order food, we call a car home, and we assume a certain level of safety because it's all managed through an app. But these stories show just how quickly that anonymity, that distance the app provides, can turn a totally mundane moment into something, well, quite dangerous, physically and psychologically.
Exactly. So our goal today is really just to share these 4 harrowing stories. We'll walk through what happened, look at how things went wrong, and talk about the lessons learned, often the hard way, by the people involved. We need to understand not just the what, but maybe the why these platforms sometimes fail to protect the people using them. Let's start with the driver's experiences. Case number 1, this encounter from 2020 with someone we'll call the silent stalker. The driver involved had recently been laid off doing late-night runs to make ends meet. It was late past midnight when he gets a ping, the alert for a ride from a passenger named Derek, who's waiting at a closed strip mall.
And right away, that setting, dark, isolated, likely no witnesses around. That's often a deliberate choice in these kinds of encounters. A red flag from the start.
So, Derek gets in. He's described as tall, wearing a gray hoodie, hands in his pockets, very quiet. The driver noted his voice was weirdly flat, almost emotionless. And here's where it gets really creepy. For the first 5 or 6 minutes, every time the driver glanced in the rearview mirror, Derek was just staring. Right at the back of the driver's head. Not looking around, just staring.
That's pure psychological intimidation. It's designed to unsettle, to establish control without overt threats yet.
Yeah. So about 15 minutes into the ride, they're in this sort of isolated residential area, and Derek leans forward. He tells the driver, kind of demands really, pull into that driveway. The house looked abandoned. Overgrown lawn, peeling paint, no lights, no car in the drive. The driver pulls in, but his gut feeling is just screaming danger.
And that intuition, that gut feeling, it's so crucial. The passenger, Derek, gets out, walks around the side of the house, and just vanishes from sight. Now, the driver is in this really vulnerable position. He's alone, in the dark, outside a creepy house, passenger gone. What do you even do? There's no clear protocol for that in the app.
He knew he had to get out of there, so he did something really important. He manually ended the trip in the app, marked it complete, then started to back the car out. He basically had to bypass the system to try and ensure his own safety. But just as he's about to put it in reverse, Derek rushes back towards the car. Hands are empty now, but he looks really agitated and tense. Derek gets back in and demands, "Take me to the other place."
Wow.
The driver refused. He stood his ground, said he couldn't do that without a new request through the app. Which was smart.
It is smart, but it also highlights a potential system failure, right? The driver feels forced to kind of game the system, ending the trip prematurely to protect himself, possibly risking his standing on the platform because there isn't a clear, safe way within the app to report an immediate ongoing threat like that. He prioritized his safety over the policy.
Definitely. The drive back to the strip mall was, as you can imagine, incredibly tense. Silence. When they finally get there, Derek leans forward again, and he asks the driver this question, just ice cold. You ever wonder how you're going to die?
Oh my God.
Then he follows it up with, you picked the wrong guy up tonight, and then he just gets out and walks away.
That's terrifying. And the aftermath you mentioned about the app data.
Yeah, that's another layer. When the driver checked later, the passenger's name, Derek, was just blank in his trip history. The whole trip data was just gone, unavailable, like the ride never even existed.
Which suggests potentially a burner account or some kind of manipulated profile, right?
Yeah.
Something designed to be untraceable after maybe just one use. That makes it incredibly hard for anyone, including law enforcement, to follow up. A real ghost in the machine.
It really is. Okay, let's move to the second driver's story. Case 2. This one happened in 2021, and it sort of highlights the dangers when mental instability comes into the car. Again, a late-night driver. Picks up a passenger named Chris near a downtown side street around 1:30 a.m. Chris seemed quiet, maybe sober, just keeping to himself initially.
So if the first case felt like calculated menace, this one sounds more like the driver getting caught up in someone else's crisis, which is another kind of vulnerability.
Totally. And there was this really bizarre detail early on. Chris was holding his phone flat in his lap, but he had the flashlight on, and the beam was angled slightly up towards the driver's seat area.
Like he was trying to illuminate the driver.
Oh,
Or record, maybe.
It wasn't clear, not aimed directly, but definitely towards the front. The driver asked about it, and Chris just mumbled, yeah, and turned it off. But it was weird. Anyway, they get to the destination, another dark, kind of isolated suburban house. Chris doesn't respond at first when the driver says they've arrived. Finally, he nods, gets out, but then he just stands there, holding the back door open, staring at the house for like a full minute.
Again, the driver is stuck in this awkward, potentially unsafe situation. Exposed on a dark street, passenger acting erratically. The patience drivers need is incredible, but it also increases their risk.
After that long pause, Chris turns back to the car, and he just says flatly, I need to go back. The driver, does the standard thing, says he needs to request a new ride through the app, and that's when Chris says this really chilling line, I can't, they're not gone yet.
Whoa, that implies paranoia, maybe delusion, intense distress, clearly.
Exactly. The driver felt he couldn't just leave him there like that, but also couldn't take him without a ride request. He decides to pull away, maybe hoping Chris would sort it out. He drives to a gas station just a few minutes down the road. He locks his car, goes inside for maybe 4 minutes, comes back out.
Yeah.
And Chris is sitting in the back seat again.
What? How did he get in? The car was locked.
Apparently, unlawful entry, somehow. The driver is obviously shocked. Chris just leans forward from the back seat and whispers, they're still in the house.
This is a major escalation. Physical safety is now seriously compromised. And this brings up that conflict for drivers again, doesn't it? Do you kick the person out, potentially escalating things violently? Do you call the police? Or do you try to de-escalate by just driving? Often, the pressure to complete the trip, avoid a bad rating or a complaint, might push a driver towards finishing the ride, even with someone unstable.
That seems to be what happened here. The driver chose to drive him back downtown where he picked him up. Chris apparently spent the ride rocking back and forth, whispering about them still being there, saying it was his parents' house, but he didn't live there anymore. When they got back to the original pickup spot, Chris just got out, stood silently by the door again, staring off into the night. The driver just left him there. An incredibly unnerving, strange, and frankly dangerous ride from start to finish. Okay, let's shift gears now to the passenger side of things. These stories show the vulnerability isn't just for drivers. Case 3 involves Uber Eats and a home invasion scare. This was an 18-year-old girl living alone. She ordered food via Uber Eats, specifically requesting contactless delivery. The app showed the driver was in a white Honda Fit Sport.
And contactless delivery, while meant for safety in one sense, introduces this other vulnerability, right? It confirms your address, confirms your home, likely alone, and expecting someone. It gives potential predators logistical information.
Exactly. So she gets the notification, your food has been delivered. Goes to the door, but nothing, no food. Then a few moments later, her next-door neighbor knocks on her door. He's holding her food order. He looks concerned and says basically, hey, I grabbed this for you. I saw the delivery driver looking through your windows, and I wasn't sure what he was doing. It looked weird.
Wow. Thank goodness for that neighbor. That is a huge, immediate red flag.
Huge. And it gets worse. Later that night, she keeps waking up because her dog, a tiny little thing, a 5-pound Maury, is growling, fiercely growling at the windows and the doors. Then, the climax. Loud banging starts on her bedroom window, and she has this horrifying realization that her bedroom window doesn't actually lock properly.
What? No, that's terrifying. Living alone, knowing someone who's just at your house is now outside, trying to get in through a potentially unlocked window. The vulnerability is immense.
She immediately calls the police, whispering on the phone so he hopefully can't hear, grabs a kitchen knife for defense. From the kitchen, she peeks out the window, and she sees it. The white Honda Fit Sport from the delivery, parked across the street in this sort of empty field area. But the driver isn't inside the car.
Meaning he's on foot, on her property.
Exactly. She knew he was out there, somewhere close. The police arrive quickly, thankfully. They check the backyard, which is muddy, and find clear footprints leading up to the house, confirming someone had been back there, likely looking in windows just as the neighbor saw. The police decide to wait, kind of hidden. And sure enough, around 2:00 in the morning, they catch the guy. He was walking up towards her front door, apparently about to try and get in again.
Unbelievable. They arrested him.
Yes, arrested on the spot. It completely validated everything she felt, everything the neighbor saw. A delivery driver turned potential home invader.
That neighbor's intervention was absolutely critical. He was the real-world safeguard that the digital platform completely failed to provide. It's a reminder, isn't it, to be aware of your community, the people around you.
Absolutely. Okay, one final story. Case 4. This one is maybe the most classic rideshare nightmare, the imposter driver. Happened in Washington, D.C. It involved a 26-year-old man visiting his fiancée, Sarah. They'd been sightseeing, it was evening, and they ordered an Uber to get back to their hotel.
And this scenario, getting into the wrong car, is tragically common, especially in busy areas, tourist spots. It's a known predatory tactic. People are tired, maybe distracted.
That's exactly what happened. A gray minivan pulls up near them. They're tired, maybe rushing a bit, and they make that critical error. They hop in the back without double-checking the license plate, the car model, or the driver's name against the app. Sarah had ordered it. He just assumed it was the one.
That verification step is so crucial. It takes seconds, but it can be life-saving.
The driver was totally silent, just gave a quick nod when they got in. 5 minutes down the road, Sarah taps her fiancé. She's looking at the GPS on her phone. They're going the complete opposite direction from the hotel. And almost at that exact moment, a notification pops up on her phone. Your Uber has arrived.
Chilling. That instant realization. You are in the wrong car. You are trapped with a stranger who is deliberately taking you somewhere else. And for anyone listening, if you ever find yourself in that situation, that's the moment to use the app's safety features if you can. Share my trip with a contact. Silently call 911 through the app's panic button if it has one. Document your location immediately.
Right. The man in the car tries to de-escalate first. He leans forward, says something like, hey, sorry, we actually changed our minds. Can you just pull over here? Trying to sound casual. The driver just stares at him in the rearview mirror. Complete silence for maybe 10 long seconds. And then just keeps driving. Doesn't slow down. Doesn't respond.
That silence, that refusal to stop, confirms the worst fears. This isn't a mistake. It's intentional.
So, with de-escalation failed, the passenger realizes he has to escalate. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small pocket knife he carries, and he makes the threat very clear, very direct. He says, look, I know you're not our Uber driver. Stop the car. I have a knife, and if you don't pull this car over right now, I will use it.
A huge risk, but possibly the only option left at that point. What did the driver do?
The driver immediately slammed on the brakes, pulled over to the side of the road, and unlocked the doors. The couple scrambled out as fast as they could. The minivan then sped off.
Wow. The threat of resistance worked. It stopped whatever was planned.
Yeah. And here's the truly terrifying context. Moments later, their actual Uber arrived. The real driver saw they were shaken up, asked what happened. When they explained, the real driver told them this has been happening a lot recently in D.C. Imposter drivers, often in minivans, specifically targeting tourists who might be less vigilant. And he said chillingly that several people had actually gone missing after getting into the wrong car.
That confirms it's not just isolated incidents, but potentially organized predatory behavior, exploiting the platform's perceived safety. It's incredibly serious. So if we look across all four of these stories, what's the common thread? It seems to be this dangerous mix of exploiting the trust people place in the app, that algorithmic certainty combined with targeting people in situations of isolation, late nights, dark streets, being alone. In every single case, the system, the app itself, didn't really verify the driver's true intent or meet the passenger's safety needs in that critical moment. Digital anonymity enabled a very real-world threat.
So for you listening, what are the concrete takeaways here? It has to go beyond just having a bad feeling, right? First, never assume the car pulling up is yours. You absolutely have to verify the license plate, the car model, and the driver's name against your app every single time. Second, trust that gut feeling immediately. If something feels off, even slightly wrong, act on it. Don't wait for something worse to happen. Getting out, ending the ride early, calling for help, even if it feels like an overreaction might be necessary. Don't worry about seeming dramatic. Prioritize your safety.
And it raises a bigger question, perhaps a provocative thought for you to mull over. We know platforms could implement stronger safety measures, right? Like mandatory QR code scans between driver and passenger phones before a ride starts, or better real-time monitoring or easier panic buttons. Yet often these aren't standard. So how much of your own vulnerability are you inadvertently sharing every time you hit confirm on one of these apps? And how can you ever be truly certain that the person showing up is who the app says they are, and not just someone waiting for the system to grant them access to you? It's something worth thinking about seriously.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into these frankly terrifying true accounts. Please be vigilant out there, be aware of your surroundings, and always verify. If you want to hear more true horror stories and chilling crime cases, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs.